The Galactic Empire, a vast and seemingly invincible power, had long considered humanity a mere curiosity, a species to be studied, used, and ultimately discarded. For centuries, Earth had been reduced to a resource-rich planet, controlled by alien overlords who believed that human life was a commodity, rather than something to be valued. They had built their empire on the backs of countless civilizations, and humanity was no exception. At first, Earth had resisted, with small rebellions scattered across the planet. But each attempt to throw off the yoke of oppression had been met with ruthless retaliation. The Empire had crushed humanity's spirit, broken its resistance, and effectively erased the idea of hope. For the average human, life was a cycle of despair. The sky was filled with Imperial ships, patrolling the airwaves, monitoring communications, and ensuring that no message of rebellion could escape. The cities were packed with alien soldiers, many of them from species that looked nothing like anything human eyes had ever seen. They enforced the Empire's will with terrifying efficiency, ensuring that humans were kept in line. Those who dared to question the Empire were silenced, often disappearing into the bowels of the vast Imperial prison systems, where they would never be seen again. But even in the darkest times, resistance simmered beneath the surface. It wasn't something openly acknowledged by the Empire. After all, how could humanity possibly pose a real threat to their dominance? They had wiped out countless species across the galaxy, each one weaker and less advanced than the Empire itself. Earth had been a problem at first, but they had quickly reduced it to a manageable state, quelling any signs of rebellion with military might and technological superiority. The Empire was content to let humans suffer. They were, after all, just another resource to be extracted, another cog in the machine that kept the Empire running. Yet something had begun to shift beneath the surface, something the Empire couldn't see. In the hidden corners of Earth, in the underground cities and outlying colonies, a new kind of resistance had formed. It wasn't made up of the ragtag fighters or idealistic freedom fighters that had attempted to rebel in the past. This new group was different. They weren't just trying to survive anymore, they were learning. They were studying the Empire's technology, its tactics, and its weaknesses. And they were using that knowledge to develop their own weapons. Weapons that the Empire had never imagined humanity could create. As the years went by, the Empire grew complacent. Their belief in their own superiority was unshakable. They believed the humans had been pacified, broken down into docile laborers who could no longer pose a threat. They never saw the quiet revolution brewing in the shadows. Humanity had begun to master technologies that were far beyond their reach. Where they had once been dependent on the Empire for everything, from food to energy to basic medical care, humans had slowly begun to reverse engineer alien technology. They discovered the secrets of hyperdrive, of energy manipulation, of advanced weapons systems. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, humanity had become a force capable of matching the Empire's power. The first major test came when the human resistance, now more organized than ever, launched a series of small-scale attacks on Imperial convoys and supply lines. The Empire had dismissed these as petty acts of defiance, easily handled by their superior forces. But with each attack, the humans grew bolder, their strikes more precise, and their tactics more sophisticated. It wasn't long before the Empire realized something was wrong, but by then, it was too late. The humans had already advanced beyond the point where the Empire could easily crush them. But the resistance was still in its infancy. It had yet to show the Empire just how far humanity had come, and it was still too weak to directly challenge the Imperial forces. The Empire's leadership dismissed the resistance as nothing more than a nuisance, and many of their generals saw it as a distraction, something that could be wiped out with a few targeted strikes. After all, humanity was not just weak physically, it was fractured, disorganized, and spread across 1,000 colonies. How could they possibly be a threat to the Empire's vast, unified military? The answer to that question would soon come from an unexpected source, Earth itself. The humans had learned to adapt, to survive, to thrive. They had done so in the face of unimaginable odds. The Empire had underestimated humanity's ability to endure, but they had also underestimated its ingenuity. Humans weren't just survivors, they were problem solvers, innovators, and builders. They had been able to take the best of what the Empire had given them, and with it, they created something far more dangerous, the ultimate weapon. The first demonstration of this weapon was as shocking as it was devastating. The Resistance, armed with technology no one in the Empire could have predicted, launched a full-scale attack on one of the Empire's major military bases. In a single night, they wiped out thousands of soldiers, crippled the base's defenses, and left the Empire in a state of panic. The attack was so sudden, so precise, that it left the Empire scrambling to understand how it had happened. The weapon humanity had used was something they had never seen before, an energy field capable of destabilizing entire star systems. It could wipe out entire planets in the blink of an eye. The weapon wasn't just a tool of destruction, it was a message. Humanity was no longer the weak, subjugated species they had once been. They had evolved. They had learned. They had become something the Empire could not ignore. And they were ready to send a message to the Galactic Empire: your worlds will burn. The Empire's leaders, who had spent centuries believing that humanity was a broken, beaten race, were suddenly faced with a terrifying realization: they had made a grave mistake. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was capable of unimaginable destruction, and they were willing to use it. The first blow had been struck, and the Empire was beginning to understand the gravity of the situation. It was too late for them to reverse the tide. Earth had risen, and the warning had been sent. Humanity was no longer a commodity. Humanity was a threat. The game had changed. For years, humanity had quietly rebuilt itself, slowly but steadily, while the Empire thought they had eradicated the last remnants of rebellion. Earth was no longer the unorganized, fractured world it had been under the Empire's control. The so-called quiet human race had become a powerhouse of innovation, and they did it without the Empire's knowledge. Humans had always been resilient, adaptable, and resourceful, traits that had allowed them to survive even the most crushing oppression. But in the face of an overwhelming enemy, humanity knew it had to be patient. At the heart of this rebuilding was a hidden network of scientists, engineers, and military strategists. These humans, living in the shadows of the Empire's control, worked tirelessly, leveraging what little was left of Earth's resources. They had begun to reverse-engineer alien technology, starting with the very ships and weapons the Empire had used to subjugate them. Over decades, they perfected these stolen technologies, learning how to wield them far more effectively than the Empire had ever anticipated. Earth's population had quietly become experts in energy manipulation, quantum destabilization, and, more shockingly, had discovered ways to harness the destructive power of dark matter. The human resistance, once scattered and weak, now operated with frightening precision. Small groups of freedom fighters had become covert units that specialized in sabotage, infiltration, and espionage. They had stolen vital secrets from the Empire's military research divisions, unraveling the hidden layers of alien weapon systems and adapting them to suit their needs. But they were not content to stop there. Over time, they developed something far beyond anything the Empire could comprehend: weapons capable of collapsing entire planetary systems with a single strike. Yet this was not just about brute force. The human resistance had learned to think strategically. The engineers, once limited by a lack of resources, had invented a new form of propulsion, a system that would allow human ships to travel faster than light, making it possible to hit the Empire before they could even react. The military strategists had developed tactics that would exploit every weakness in the Empire's defenses. The soldiers, once subjugated and broken, were now the most battle-hardened warriors in the galaxy, forged by years of relentless oppression and the hunger for freedom. But perhaps the most significant change was the mindset of humanity itself. No longer were they the weak, submissive species the Empire had once believed them to be. They had learned from their history and the mistakes of their past. Where they had once fought for survival, they now fought for vengeance, a burning desire to make the Empire pay for the suffering they had endured. And it was this fire that would drive them to take the ultimate step, not merely defending Earth, but launching an all-out assault on the very heart of the Empire. The resistance leaders, now united under a single banner, knew that their time had come. They could no longer wait in the shadows. They had built the weapons, the ships, and the plans for a strike that would change the galaxy forever. But they understood the stakes of this gamble. The Empire would not go down without a fight. The question wasn't whether the humans could strike, of course they could, but whether they could win. In secret, a small fleet of human ships had already been constructed. They were fast, lethal, and equipped with the very weapons that had once been used to oppress them. Their design was a blend of alien technology and human ingenuity, allowing them to move unseen, like shadows in the dark, ready to strike when the time was right. These ships, called the Reclaimers, would serve as the vanguard of humanity's final stand against the Empire. As the final preparations were being made, the human leaders issued a bold, simple statement, a message to the Galactic Empire: "Your worlds will burn." It was a warning, yes, but also a promise. The Empire had long underestimated humanity, viewing them as an inferior species, too weak to pose any real threat. That arrogance, that complacency, would be their downfall. Humanity, once thought of as a resource to be consumed, was now an unstoppable force, one that would tear the Empire apart from within. But even as the fleet prepared to make its move, the leaders knew they had to be careful. The Empire had countless systems, thousands of planets under its control, and legions of soldiers. The battle would not be easy, and there was no guarantee that humanity's strike would succeed. The Empire's military might was vast, and they had more resources at their disposal than any single race could hope to match. Yet humanity had something the Empire could never understand: the will to fight for freedom at all costs. Where the Empire relied on its overwhelming might, humanity relied on its determination, its unity, and its innovation. In the quiet moments before the storm, the Resistance fighters reflected on their journey. They had suffered. They had been crushed. They had lost everything, and yet, here they were, standing on the brink of victory. They had built their rebellion from nothing, starting with nothing but the fire of their desire for freedom. Now they stood ready to take it all back: Earth, their colonies, their homes, and their pride. The Empire had thought they could break humanity. They had been wrong. And so, humanity prepared to send its final message to the Empire. It was no longer a plea for mercy or an attempt at negotiation. There would be no more surrender, no more futile talks of peace. The time for diplomacy was over. This was war, and it was one that humanity would fight on its own terms. Your worlds will burn. This was no idle threat. It was a promise. And the Empire would soon realize that humanity, though small and seemingly insignificant, was a force to be reckoned with, one that could no longer be ignored. The time for subtlety was over. The Empire, arrogantly confident in its power, had made the fatal mistake of underestimating humanity's potential. For too long, they had treated Earth and its people as expendable resources. Their belief that the human spirit was broken had clouded their judgment. They were wrong. The catalyst for the uprising came when the supreme commander of the Empire, a cold-blooded alien warlord named Vrix, issued the final decree: the human colonies scattered throughout the galaxy would be cleansed. These colonies, now thriving in their independence, were seen as the last remnants of human defiance, and they had to be eradicated to ensure total control over the galaxy. It was a decision rooted in arrogance, the belief that the Empire's military might could crush any resistance with ease. Vrix, in his arrogance, did not foresee the storm that was brewing in the heart of Earth. The human resistance, now armed with cutting-edge technology and a unified purpose, had quietly activated their hidden fleet, a fleet of ships, each one a marvel of human ingenuity. These were not just ordinary ships, they were weapons, capable of breaching the defenses of the Empire's strongest fortresses. But these ships were not just built for destruction, they were designed to send a message. And that message would be heard across the galaxy. As Vrix's forces prepared to launch their final attack on the human colonies, the first strike came not from the Resistance but from Earth itself. Without warning, a massive shockwave of energy erupted from the heart of Earth, reaching across the galaxy in a burst of destructive power. This was humanity's first warning to the Empire: the world they had once enslaved had become something far more dangerous. The burst of energy was only a precursor, a test of what was to come. It was a message, the opening shot in a war that the Empire was woefully unprepared for. The Empire's fleet, still underestimating humanity, dismissed the initial strike as a freak accident, a small-scale incident that would be easily contained. They could not have been more wrong. The true weapon, the fleet of human ships, began to emerge from hidden docking stations, a dozen ships at first, then hundreds, all piloted by the most skilled humans. These ships weren't just piloted by ordinary soldiers, they were commanded by the best strategists, the same people who had spent years reverse engineering the Empire's technology and perfecting it. The human ships moved with a purpose, a calculated grace that the Empire's vast fleet could not match. But what truly caught the Empire by surprise wasn't just the firepower of the human fleet, it was the sheer scale of their retaliation. Each human ship carried not just weapons of mass destruction, but advanced technological systems that allowed them to manipulate the battlefield in ways the Empire had never seen. They could disable entire fleets with a single pulse of energy, scramble enemy communications, and even bend the very fabric of spacetime to their advantage. As the first waves of human ships made their way toward the Empire's strongholds, a wave of panic spread through the Empire's command centers. Vrix, now fully aware of the enormity of his mistake, attempted to rally his forces, but the Empire's vast military infrastructure was beginning to crumble under the weight of humanity's innovation. What was once considered an insignificant species had become an unstoppable force. In the face of humanity's wrath, the once feared Empire was now on the defensive, scrambling to react to an enemy they had never fully understood. The clash between the human fleet and the Empire's forces was nothing short of catastrophic. The skies of countless worlds erupted in explosions as the human ships tore through the Empire's defenses, hitting critical infrastructure and sending shockwaves through their command systems. Each victory for humanity was a statement, a declaration that they had not only survived the Empire's attempts to destroy them but had grown stronger because of it. The humans were no longer the prey, they were the predators. In a final act of defiance, Earth itself unleashed the true weapon, a device that could unravel the very core of a planet. This was not a weapon to be used lightly, but the humans had made a choice. It was either them or the Empire. As Earth's core began to shift and destabilize, a countdown began, a countdown to the annihilation of the Empire's most powerful world. The shockwave from Earth's destruction would ripple through the galaxy, sending a message to every corner of the Empire: humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Vrix, in a desperate attempt to quell the rebellion, ordered a full-scale retaliation, but it was too late. The human fleet, now fully operational, had already executed their plan. In an instant, the skies darkened with the fire of humanity's wrath. Planets that once stood as symbols of the Empire's might were reduced to rubble. Their ships, their cities, their power, all obliterated by the human retaliation. For the first time in centuries, the Empire faced true uncertainty. Their forces were scattered, their leadership in disarray. And through it all, the final message from humanity echoed across the stars: your worlds will burn. The Empire's response was swift and overwhelming, as expected. The Supreme Commander, Vrix, in his fury, ordered an immediate counterattack. Vast fleets of Imperial warships mobilized, leaving behind scorched trails as they made their way toward Earth. They were confident, unshaken by the initial surprise, certain that their sheer numbers and firepower would easily obliterate the human threat. After all, they had defeated far stronger opponents than humanity could ever hope to be. But they were gravely mistaken. The humans had anticipated this response, and they had prepared. For decades, they had been building their forces in secret, learning from every alien technology they had encountered, and perfecting their own systems. The hidden fleet now emerged from the shadows, fully equipped and ready. But what the Empire did not know was that the fleet was only the beginning of humanity's new weapon, a weapon so devastating that even the vast Imperial Armada could not escape its reach. The heart of this new weapon was something humanity had developed in secret, far beyond the capabilities of the Empire's technology, a series of quantum destabilizers designed to destabilize the fabric of spacetime itself. These devices, once activated, could tear apart entire star systems in mere seconds, turning everything to dust. The fleet wasn't just a military force, it was a harbinger of extinction for any who dared challenge Earth's wrath. The first target was one of the Empire's largest military bases, a fortress hidden within a distant star system. It had long been the center of the Empire's dominance in the sector, where fleets were built and warriors trained. Within minutes, the humans deployed their weaponry, unleashing an unimaginable burst of energy that shredded the Imperial defenses. The resulting shockwave traveled through the stars, obliterating everything in its path. The once proud base was reduced to a cloud of debris and ash, a warning shot that reverberated through the Empire's command structure. In the chaos, Vrix issued orders to retaliate in full force. The Empire's warships moved to intercept humanity's fleet, but they were unprepared for what lay ahead. As the two forces clashed in the vacuum of space, the humans revealed their true strength, not in numbers, but in the raw ingenuity that had been their saving grace. Their ships, far more advanced than the Empire had ever imagined, moved with precision, outmaneuvering the larger, slower Imperial warships. It was no longer a battle of strength alone, but a war of strategy, cunning, and willpower. As the conflict raged on, the humans issued their final message to the Empire, a direct broadcast to every corner of the galaxy, transmitted through encrypted channels. The voice that spoke was that of a human leader, one who had long been the symbol of the rebellion, an engineer and strategist who had dedicated their life to humanity's resurgence. The message was simple, but it was heard by every alien species that had once viewed humanity as nothing more than a fleeting spark in the vastness of space. "This is the final warning from Earth," the leader's voice echoed, firm and resolute. "You thought you could break us, erase us, and keep us in chains. You were wrong. Your worlds will burn, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. This is not a threat, it is a promise. The Empire has underestimated us for the last time. We will not just survive, we will make you pay for every life you've taken, for every soul you've crushed under your boot. And it will start with you." As the broadcast ended, another burst of energy erupted from Earth. This time, it was not just a warning. The Empire's most prized capital planet, Vrix's own homeworld, was the next target. A singular, precise strike was launched from Earth's fleet, harnessing the full potential of the quantum destabilizers. In a flash, the once thriving planet was erased from existence, its star system collapsing in on itself. The act sent shockwaves through the Empire, and it became clear to them, humanity was no longer the weak, defenseless species they had thought it to be. They had become something far worse, a force of nature that could no longer be ignored. The shock of Vrix's homeworld's destruction rippled throughout the Empire. The alien leadership, once unified under their arrogance and superiority, now faced internal fractures. The realization that humanity had mastered the very technology that had once kept the galaxy in check caused a frenzy among the Empire's generals and warlords. Panic spread like wildfire. The Galactic Empire, which had subjugated countless worlds, was now facing an enemy unlike any it had ever encountered. Humanity's message had been received loud and clear. The war was no longer one of rebellion, it was a war of extinction. The Empire's once proud fleets, now scattered and disarrayed, had no choice but to retreat. Humanity was no longer the hunted, it was the hunter. And with each world they destroyed, their resolve grew stronger. The final act of defiance had begun. The humans had struck at the heart of the Empire, obliterating their strongholds, and as each Imperial world fell, their message remained unchanged: your worlds will burn, and we will be the ones to light the fire. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, the once dismissed human race had proven what they were capable of. They were no longer the meek, weak species that had been oppressed for so long. They had become a force of reckoning. And the Empire, once thought invincible, now faced a future where their destruction was not a possibility, but an inevitability.